For decades, a ghost has haunted the periphery of our ascent into space. It is a story whispered by radio operators, debated in hushed tones by researchers, and embraced by those who believe we are not alone. It is the legend of the Black Knight, an alleged artificial satellite of unknown origin, a silent sentinel in a lonely polar orbit around Earth. The story is a tapestry woven from disparate threads of history. It begins, some say, with Nikola Tesla, who in 1899 detected rhythmic, intelligent signals he believed originated from Mars. Decades later, in the 1920s and 30s, radio operators began reporting long-delayed echoes, or LDEs, where radio signals would be inexplicably echoed back from space seconds or even minutes later, a phenomenon that defies simple reflection of the ionosphere. In the 1970s, researcher Duncan Lunnan analyzed these LDEs and controversially claimed to have decoded a star map pointing to the star system Epsilon Boötis, sent by a 13,000-year-old probe. Then came the space age, and with it, the most iconic and controversial piece of evidence, a photograph taken during the STS-88 space shuttle mission in 1998. The image depicts a strange, black, angular object floating in orbit. NASA has officially identified it as a thermal blanket lost by an astronaut during an EVA. But to believers, this was the first clear look at the Black Knight itself. When you weave these threads together, a chilling narrative emerges. For at least a century, and perhaps for millennia, an ancient, non-human object has been stationed in orbit, an unblinking eye watching humanity's every move. It is a story officially relegated to folklore, a modern myth. But every myth has a grain of truth, and the core idea of an ancient watcher, a silent sentinel, has refused to die. It has simply been waiting for a new piece of evidence, a new event that could finally connect its lonely vigil to a larger cosmic reality. On its own, the legend of the Black Knight is a self-contained mystery, a ghost story for the space age. But the arrival of Free-Atlas has provided a shocking new context, a potential link that transforms the story from a local haunting into a galactic conspiracy. To understand this connection, we must first accept the premise that Free-Atlas is not what it appears to be. While mainstream science presents a compelling case for it being a natural, albeit spectacular, interstellar comet, we must look at its behavior through a lens of suspicion. Its anomalies, when viewed as individual quirks, are interesting. When viewed as a pattern of behavior, they become deeply unsettling. A natural object's trajectory is governed by gravity. Free-Atlas's path through our solar system, however, can be interpreted less as a passive fall and more as a controlled flyby. Its trajectory was not a direct intercept with any planet, but a high-speed pass over the ecliptic plane, the perfect path for a broad surveillance sweep of the entire system. Then there is its fragmentation. The natural explanation of thermal stress does not fully account for the timing and the almost staged nature of its disintegration. It did not simply explode, it shattered into distinct clusters, a process that from a technological standpoint looks less like a failure and more like a deployment. This could be interpreted as the shedding of a natural camouflage, the icy shell, to reveal an internal mechanism, or the deliberate release of smaller, targeted sensor probes. The sheer size of the object is another red flag. Nature produces large comets, but the estimated mass of Free-Atlas puts it at the extreme end of the scale. In a universe where efficiency matters, why would a natural object be so unusually large? But if it were an artificial craft, a long-haul interstellar vessel, its size would be a necessity. It would need to carry fuel, shielding, and a significant payload to survive a journey of millions of years through the hostile environment of deep space. When you stop looking at Free-Atlas as a dead rock and start looking at it as an object with a purpose, its behavior shifts from anomalous to logical. It begins to look less like a comet, and more like a courier. This is the heart of the theory, the connection that bridges the gap between a 13,000-year-old legend and a 21st-century astronomical event. The Black Knight is not a lone sentinel. It is a node, a local receiver in a vast, ancient, and patient communications network. And 3I/Atlas was not a comet. It was a courier, a physical data packet delivered across interstellar distances. Consider the immense challenges of interstellar communication. Sending radio waves is slow, limited by the speed of light, and the signal degrades over such vast distances. For sending massive amounts of information, a galactic census, a detailed planetary survey, historical archive, physical data transfer is far more efficient. You don't email a multi-terabyte file, you send a hard drive. In this analogy, 3I/Atlas is the ultimate interstellar hard drive. Its mission was not to visit Earth, but to make a data drop to the local receiver. The fragmentation event was the transfer itself. As the object disintegrated, it released a cloud of debris. This was not a chaotic explosion, but a burst transmission. The data was not encoded in radio waves, but in the very substance of the debris, perhaps in unique isotopic ratios, complex organic molecules, or even quantum-entangled particles that could be read by a specialized sensor. The Black Knight's polar orbit is the final piece of the puzzle. A polar orbit is ideal for long-term observation of an entire planet. It is also the perfect orbit for a receiver designed to intercept a courier passing through the solar system from any angle. As the debris cloud from 3I/Atlas expanded, its trajectory intersected the orbital path of the Black Knight. The Sentinel simply had to pass through the cloud to collect its message. This explains the lack of any detectable radio signals from either object. The communication was silent, physical, and a complete success. The courier delivered its message, and the Sentinel received it. And humanity, looking up from the bottom of the gravity well, was entirely oblivious to the transaction that had just taken place above its head. If we accept this chilling model of a surveillance network, we are forced to ask the most important and terrifying question of all: why? What is the purpose of this silent, ancient observation? The possibilities are as vast as they are unsettling, and they generally fall into three categories. The first, and perhaps most benign, is the quarantine or preserve hypothesis. In this scenario, humanity is a protected species, or perhaps a dangerous, quarantined one. The Black Knight system acts as a warden, a gatekeeper ensuring that cosmic traffic does not interfere with our development, and more importantly, that our own potentially volatile civilization does not expand into the galaxy. 3I/Atlas could have been an unauthorized visitor from another system, and its data drop was an intelligence report for the warden on this intruder. We are living in a cosmic nature preserve, and the watchers are simply making sure we remain undisturbed. The second possibility is the famous zoo hypothesis. Humanity is an exhibit, a subject of study for an unseen, hyper-advanced intelligence. The Black Knight is the zookeeper, patiently recording our every move, our wars, our triumphs, our technological progress. The data transfer from 3I/Atlas could have been a new set of instructions for the exhibit, a software update, or simply the delivery of a new sensor package to enhance the observation. We are not being protected, we are being studied, perhaps for the entertainment or scientific curiosity of beings we can't even comprehend. The third and by far the darkest possibility is the harvest or farm theory. In this scenario, humanity is not an exhibit to be studied, but a resource